You've probably heard the advice to be kind to yourself, right? But what does that actually mean? Is it just some feel-good platitude, or is there something real to it? Well, today, we're going to dig into the science behind a really powerful psychological tool, self-compassion.
But before we get there, let's talk about the default setting for so many of us. When things go sideways, when we mess up, who's the first person on the scene with the harsh feedback? Yep, it's usually that critical voice inside our own heads.
Go on, take a second. Really think about it. The last time something went wrong, what did that inner monologue sound like? Was it, supportive and understanding? Or was it something a little less friendly?
And that's the wild part, isn't it? If a friend was going through the exact same thing, we'd offer them warmth, we'd offer them encouragement. But when it's us, we often unleash this inner critic that, let's be honest, we would never, ever tolerate from another person. The research is clear on this. We are so often our own harshest critics.
So, what's the alternative? How do we talk back to that harsh inner voice? Well, it turns out there's a scientifically studied practice that gives us a completely different way to go. It's called self-compassion, and it's all about fundamentally shifting how we relate to ourselves, especially when we're in pain.
Now, this definition comes from Dr. Kristen Neff, who's a pioneer in this field. And what I think is so important here is how broad it is. It's not just about when you make a mistake. It's about being a supportive friend to yourself during any kind of suffering, whether it's your fault or something completely out of your control.
So how does it actually work? Well, self-compassion isn't just one thing. It's more like a three-legged stool. First, you've got self-kindness instead of self-judgment. Pretty straightforward. Second, this idea of common humanity, which is just a way of remembering that messing up and feeling pain is part of being human. You're not the only one. And third, mindfulness, which is about looking at your pain honestly without either ignoring it or letting it completely take over.
And look, this isn't just some fringe concept. Back in 2003, when the first scientific scale to measure self-compassion came out, there was basically zero research on it. But look at this chart. By 2021, there are over 4,000 publications. I mean, that's an explosion. The scientific world has definitely set up and taken notice. But okay, even with all that research, a lot of us are still a little skeptical, right? We have these nagging worries that being kind to ourselves is just a bad idea. So let's dive in and tackle the 4 biggest myths about self-compassion and see what the data actually says.
All right, myth number 1. This is a big one. It's the idea that self-compassion is just a form of weakness, that you're just being soft on yourself and letting yourself off the hook.
But the research, it tells a completely different story. Self-compassion is actually a source of incredible strength. It's a huge factor in resilience, helping people cope with the toughest things life can throw at them, from divorce to pandemics. And get this, one study on soldiers found that having low self-compassion was a stronger predictor of developing PTSD than the actual amount of combat they saw. Think about that. Being your own ally literally makes you stronger.
Okay, on to myth number 2. The idea that self-compassion is just a fancy word for self-indulgence. An excuse to just sit on the couch, eat ice cream all day, and avoid your responsibilities.
But here's the thing. Self-indulgence often feels good in the moment but hurts you later. Self-compassion is the opposite. It's about what's genuinely good for your long-term well-being. And the data shows that people with higher self-compassion are more likely to exercise, eat well, and go to the doctor. It's about genuine care, not just short-term pleasure.
Myth number 3 is this fear that if we focus on being kind to ourselves, we'll become totally self-absorbed, that we'll have less compassion to give to other people, like it's some kind of zero-sum game.
You can probably guess where this is going. The research shows the exact opposite. Self-compassion actually makes our relationships better. Self-compassionate partners are seen as more connected, more supportive. And for people in caring professions, nurses, therapists, parents, it's a critical tool against burnout. You know the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup? Well, this is the science that proves it.
And now for the big one, the one that stops most of us in our tracks. It's the belief that we need that harsh inner critic to push us, that without it, we'd just stop trying. We'd lose all our motivation.
This could not be more wrong, according to the research. See, self-criticism motivates with fear. Self-compassion motivates with care. It's linked to having a growth mindset, believing you can get better. There was this one amazing study where students who failed a test were encouraged to practice self-compassion. The result? They actually studied longer for the next test. It fuels the desire to improve. It absolutely does not kill it.
Now you might be thinking,
Okay, this all sounds great, but isn't this just self-esteem? And that is a fantastic question, because on the surface, they seem similar, but when you look at the research, you see there are some massive, and I mean massive differences. Self-esteem, it turns out, is often built on pretty shaky ground.
This table really lays it all out. Look at the source of worth. Self-esteem is all about evaluation, feeling special, being better than average, which means it's super unstable. It goes up when you win and crashes when you fail. Self-compassion, though, it's not based on judgment at all. It's there for you in good times and bad, because your worth is just a given. And check out those bottom two rows. Unlike self-esteem, self-compassion has zero connection to narcissism, and it's a way better tool for handling stress. It's a much more solid foundation.
So if there is one thing, one single thing to take away from all of this, it's this. Self-compassion is not some fixed personality trait that you either have or you don't. The science is incredibly clear on this point. It is a skill, and like any skill, it's something you can learn, you can practice, and you can get better at over time.
And this quote from Dr. Neff just nails it, doesn't it? Self-compassion isn't just a nice, abstract idea, it's something you can do. It's an active choice you can make in how you're going to treat yourself, from one moment to the next.
Which really brings us to the final, most important thought. If you strip away all the studies and all the theory, it all just boils down to this one simple question. The next time you're facing a challenge, the next time you make a mistake, the next time you're just having a tough day, how can you choose in that moment to be a better friend to yourself?